and someone that has, really kind of negative on the home market in the comments the past several weeks. Are we bullish in the auto market? Yes, but it's a long-term bullish. Short term, yes, we are saying that prices are going to, that even Greg was just saying it, that list to sell price is going to come down. He thinks even 95%. But in the long term, we're highly bullish on the Ottawa market and Canadian real estate as a whole because of the statistics that we've been mentioning. And that's looking at historic numbers and the statistics of what the government's bringing into the country, where our income is at, where our supply is at, and where the demand is at. And I think you need to look at it at that long-term horizon and not just the short-term.
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
He's back. It's the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. My name is Paul Stevenson. I'm here with Greg Campbell. I'm here with David Warren. And we like talking about real estate, mortgages, whatever else we want to talk about. I am one of the owners of Referral Mortgages. I'm also a mortgage agent. I'm joined with Greg Campbell. He is the managing director and a realtor at The Agency Ottawa. And David Warren. We got two Gregs here today. David Warren is also with us. He is a owner and mortgage agent at Referral Mortgages. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey.
Happy to be back.
An extra welcome to Greg. Yeah, doing a little tour right now.
Yeah. I shouldn't say happy to be back in Ottawa. I should say happy to be back on the show after 2 weeks away.
Yeah, you've been doing quite the tour of Canada there. How's everything going out east?
It's amazing. We're in our final spot for Prince Edward Island at Basin Head Beach. Anyone wants to look that up, it's ranked top 5 beaches in Canada. It's amazing. We spent the day there yesterday. We're going to be spending another day this week, but it's incredible. So no complaints from me. Been visiting family, had a little family reunion, and now just rolling to back into Charlottetown and meet my cousin for lunch and talk some real estate business, believe it or not. And been having lots of fun.
He's on the road show. He's the road show.
I'm the road show, right? Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome. Dave and I actually, I was going to ask how Dave's weekend was, but we spent Friday night together bowling. Did a little rock and bowl with the office, some of our agents. It was pretty fun. Haven't done that in many years, and went to West Park Bowl, which is actually right near the agency head office, I believe.
Yes,
near Hinton. I think it's the oldest bowling alley in Ottawa, is it not?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
So we got lots to cover today. Before we get into it, I just wanted to remind everyone to subscribe, okay, to like, to share, to review, to comment. I always say it at the end of the show, and probably makes a bit more sense to say it now while everyone's listening. And we have been getting a lot of comments, which we'll definitely touch on again today. But we wanted to get into the numbers, I think, first and foremost, because we've been seeing some staggering stats, as Greg referred to them.
And
if
I think we lost.
So what we're going to do when Greg comes back on is we're going to give you some breakdown of the stats. Well, let's get into the comments. We might as well while we're waiting.
I think kind of the first and foremost, hopefully Greg comes back before we dive into those comments, because I know Greg will appreciate them as well. But Bank of Canada did raise prime last week. So obviously that was big in the news. Everyone with any sort of debt or variable mortgage obviously noticed that. It was a historic raise, increase of 1%, hadn't been done since 1998. And we are now one of the highest interest rates, Bank of Canada or central bank interest rates, compared to all the other European countries, British, Asia. It's pretty interesting. I'll share that, but we're sitting now at an overnight rate of 2.5, which puts our actual bank prime at 4.7. So those of you with variable rates, those of you with lines of credit, student lines of credit are all affected by this. Obviously, you read this in the news. And really, from a numbers standpoint, it really breaks down to $48 for every $100,000 that your mortgage is. If you're on an adjustable rate mortgage, where your payments increase with the interest rate, you will see most of them are coming into effect for August 1st, and it'll affect you by $48 per 100. So obviously, the intention here is to slow down inflation before they kind of normalize the Bank of Canada prime again. But that's where we stand right now, and the next announcement won't be until mid-September. So we'll at least get a little bit of a break. The U.S. is set to follow Canada and raise by 1% there. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that parlays to our inflation numbers over the next couple of months, and whether they continue to soar, or whether we can normalize them. So don't fret.
Sorry, this is what?
A few stressful emails.
Yeah, people? Emails, phone calls. Like I had some people that were calling that, didn't lock in, but took a variable rate in, January, February, and kind of wondering if it was still the best option. Like, is this what I should have done? And I was just trying to explain that even at the rate that they had, they're still sitting in kind of the mid threes, whereas back then they would have been kind of locking in at high threes. So they're still, and I was kind of, it's very important to keep in mind that like you have to look at, if you take any month and extract it from a 60-month term, it's easy to say, oh, well, maybe this is the wrong decision, but you have to look at the full body of work, right? You have to look at the full 5 years and say, well, at the end of the 5 years, did I come out ahead or did I not? And as we've seen historically, the data shows that the majority, well, actually, I think always the variable rate has always outperformed the fixed. So I was just trying to say that, even myself right now, obviously we don't have a crystal ball in our industry. We don't, we can't foresee what's going to happen as far as like, there's no guarantees the rates are going to come down in the future or go up in the future. It is what it is as of today. And that's all we can advise on. And it's a lot of it is kind of speculation based on experience. But even at that time, there was about a 2% difference between the fixed and variable. And today, to lock it in, they'd still be locking in at basically voluntarily. As I know we've talked about this, and I don't want to, bore people with it because we've gone around in circles. But we've basically they'd be voluntarily locking in for an additional 1.5%, which is going to increase their payments. They're worried about their payments increasing, but it's going to increase their payments by another $300-400 voluntarily just to lock that in for that security. So just a lot of those conversations of just kind of figuring out like what is most important to you. Like if you just want that peace of mind, you do not want to think about it anymore, then maybe it's worth paying that extra money every month just to not have to think about it. That's a personal decision. But in my opinion, from my seat, I still think that the variable rate, like to hold the course with the variable rate, is still the best option.
And I will say, we're both sitting with variable rate mortgages, both Paul and I. We're not, both of us are not on fixed. We practice what we preach. It's something that, aside from payments and rate, is really also considering, I know we've touched on all of this, so we'll move on, but really penalties. There's a reason why the banks don't charge you anything to switch from a variable to a fixed, because they know that 66% of people break their mortgage before the 5 years is up, and they know they can get a larger penalty. It works out to be about 9 times the penalty of what a variable rate penalty is on a fixed. So they know that 66% of people are going to break their mortgage, and they're going to get a penalty in their pocket of 9 times what it would be on a variable. So they don't charge you anything to switch to a variable. You cannot go from a fixed to a variable. And that's solely because there's no benefit. The bank is not taking advantage of that penalty on that other side. So just something to keep in mind as you're kind of deciding of whether to lock in or contact your bank about getting some rate quotes is, do you foresee yourself before your term is up of looking to refinance, looking to sell that investment property, looking to sell your property, kind of what that odds of breaking your mortgage are, because that should really play into it as well. But I think we should, I don't know if we'll get Greg back or not. It's unfortunate we don't have his numbers to send along to us, but I thought there was one good comment from,
I'm in.
Oh, there we are. He is on. Out of nowhere, the ghost.
Let's see if this works. Okay, so we did a little breakdown, or I did a little breakdown of last week's numbers. Again, I know some people don't like this, but I did the classic suburban townhome because that is still primarily the hottest market in the city, east to west. So let's just have a quick look at this. And I also, as per your request, ran the numbers for the same week of solds in 2019, just to get an idea of the difference in numbers. So we're going to start with Kanata. And again, I didn't do Kanata Stittsville, and I didn't do Barrhaven Riverside South. I specifically did Kanata, Barrhaven, and Orleans. So Kanata townhomes right now, the average sales price is $613,000, 98% sales price to list price. We talked about that the other week, that's dropping down, and I believe that's going to hit 95 in the next couple weeks. Only 5 sold, only 1 conditional, and there's 29 active right now. In 2019, there was 10 sold in the same week at an average of $438,000, 103% sales price over list price. So that was the beginning of kind of when things started to get hectic. Now, going on to Barrhaven, current average sales price $600,000, 97% sales price to list price. Only 3 sold last week, 1 conditionally sold, 41 active townhomes. Wow. 2019, 12 sold in the same week at an average of $412,000, 105% sales price to list price. On to Orleans. Average sales price $629,000, 99% sales price to list price. 10 sold last week, 3 conditionally sold, and 58 currently active. In 2019, the same week, 21 sold, average of $388,000, 102% sales price to list price value. So I can just laugh at this, but the amount of active listings right now is insane versus what's selling. And that, of course, as we know, will only cause prices to further decline because the buyers are being very particular about what they want and about where they're spending their money, especially with the interest rates going up. What do you think, boys?
Of just looking at the number of listings, I mean, the list to sale price, I think is still, I think is interesting because there's a lot of people that are not, they're still listing it over what they should be. Then there's the price adjustments down. I'm sure now with the amount of listed on the market that people are, trying to be more accurate as to what that price looks like. So it'd be interesting to see, like you said, of over the next few weeks, how that list to sale price ratio adjusts, and what strategies people are using and agents are using for their listings. I mean, obviously with the amount of active listings, 58 in Orleans, 41 in Barrhaven, et cetera. It's going to take time. And we said it for the last few weeks, certainly list your place first before buying. People coming into new builds. I know there's there's quite a big swath of new builds coming to completion in the fall between September and basically December. So I think there'll be even more. I think some of those people that are coming up for close or have been notified by their builders to close in the fall are going to be listing now. But I'm already getting some emails from people that are closing in March that are worried about qualifying. So I don't know. I think it'll be very interesting over the next little bit. But I know, Greg, you were even commenting on some of the posts on YouTube that, this is also a lull in the Ottawa market typically. Obviously, compared to 2019, it's still, number of listings are down and all of that are high. But what do you see from this type of time, people on vacation like yourself sitting historically on the sidelines anyways?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. And, that comment on YouTube that I responded to where he thought we were out to lunch talking about the summer being a factor in this at all. And my comment back was, no, last year was our first traditional summer market in years. And the average, I think the prices did drop, believe it or not, last year for a few months. The sales dropped. and then they shot back up again in the fall before going nuts at the beginning of this year. But you know, what's different right now is that there's more listings on in the summer than usual, and there's more coming to market than usual from what I'm looking at. Like, I mean, the fact that there's 58 townhomes for sale in Orleans right now, that's crazy. And that's not including town condos. That's actual townhomes in Orleans. 58. I have one of those for sale, and you know, the showings have been minimal, and it's amazing. Like, it would have flew off the shelf previously. But another thing I wanted to mention is that for a lot of these people who are in a position where, you know, they bought something, they got to move in, now they're trying to sell, and there's a lot who are really trying to push to get that top dollar. They're wasting valuable time by not dropping their price because, you know, this could drop further. Now, I did 2 sales, just to put it into perspective again here. There was one purchase that I did. I negotiated almost $200,000 off the purchase price for my clients. It's $1 million property. And then in turn, I had a listing that was 1.2, and, you know, we let it go for almost 200,000 less than what we did. So, you know, the person that bought that house obviously is going to sell it less, but they also paid less. So, I mean, it's just like, you know, we keep talking about a correction. It's all relative. Like, there's no, like, anyone that's panicking, you know, like we spoke about before, are definitely going to be those people potentially closing further down the line on a new build or something. But I know some other people who've also decided that instead of selling their home to move into that $1.2 million or whatever that they bought closing in December, they've talked to the builder, and the builder is allowing them to sell it to someone else if they can find a buyer, and they have. So now they've taken their home off the market. They're going to stay where they are, and they found a buyer for their new build that's obviously financially a little bit more stable and not as concerned. They're going to take that on. So that was really interesting to hear. Like, and they're just kind of like, they're like, the stress is too much. We just got to end it, and they figured it out. And that's actually a seller I communicated with. They're working with another agent, but I just thought that was great that they actually kind of just, you know, decided, let's just try this, and it worked. So, you know, you just gotta, again, like we say every week, just talk to your professional and figure it out. You know, no sense in panicking. Just know what the numbers are and know what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I definitely haven't heard of anyone getting the 200,000 off the list price yet. So you're first of that one. So,
let me be clear. It's 200,000 off, but there was a price reduction. So,
okay,
you know, they reduced by 125, and then we got a 75 off.
Got it.
So yeah, I'm just kind of saying that would be, to get the.
And I would imagine they had another house they were needing to close on as well. Exactly. Yeah. I think so. I'm going to read one comment that I thought was really interesting from on one of last week, or at last week's episode. You know, as prices are kind of leveling out, coming down a bit, you know, a lot of active listings, and there's been in the news, you know, constantly about people saying, well, prices are too high. I can't afford to buy. I can't, you know, afford these houses. Prices are coming down, you know, kind of to that point of, you know, are you investigating or setting a plan of what can you afford? And I thought this person's comment was really interesting. So said, with respect to why people don't want to jump into the market, it's actually pretty interesting. Having just bought a home in October, a lot of friends have come over to visit, obviously. Our conversations do often involve home buying. And it seems to me that a huge percentage of people have the perception they can't buy a home, but haven't done any actual research or verification. He says, have you seen a mortgage broker and seen how much you can be pre-approved for? No. Do you know how much you need for a down payment to buy a home? No. Do you have a plan on how you would save for a down payment? No. Have you done a monthly budget to put money away for a down payment? No. He's like, so you're complaining that you can't buy a home, but have literally done nothing to progress towards that goal. Well, prices are so high, interest rates are going up. Whatever excuse, whatever reason. He says it's like the perception of homes being unaffordable is just a complaining point, but they don't want to put in the significant effort to make it happen. That the result being they can't capitalize on good opportunities because they haven't been saving and planning. And I thought this was really a really great point and comment, that a lot of it is perception. People perceiving that because interest rates are high right now, or going up, and not high historically, but high in our short period of time, that a lot of people that are first-time home buyers looking to buy a home, they, unfortunately, they've maybe gone looking in the market and their rates are at, fixed rates below 2%, and now they're in the 4s and 5s, so they're very scared off. But when you have prices coming down a bit, even with interest rates up, your monthly payments are actually going to be pretty well the exact same. And so even if you are on the sidelines right now, do the research, speak to a professional, get pre-approved, set that roadmap, because it might be something where you might not be in a position to buy right now because you haven't saved for a down payment. So figure out what you can afford right now and set that roadmap so that when you have that down payment is available, or know what you can buy, you're ready to go. And whether that's in a year, 2 years, when rates have come back down, and as soon as rates come back down, the demand is going to increase. I mean, there's only the reason why prices are stabilizing and coming down a bit is because interest rates are up, and there's a perception that people don't want to get into the market. And so that's the only reason why it's leveling out. But as soon as rates come back down, they're not going to stay high. They're not going to stay at this high forever. The demand is going to come rushing back for a myriad of reasons. So do yourself a service and just speak to a professional to figure out what that qualifying looks like and set a roadmap up. A lot of people are it is a misconception of what they can afford or what things look like, and don't actually ask the questions. They just read the headlines and kind of and make that determination based off that.
Yeah, I deal with that all the time too. Is there's a lot of misconceptions, or even something as simple as first-time home buyers, maybe thinking that they need 20% instead of 5 or 10% for the down payment, or people thinking that their maybe credit history has a more of a negative impact than it actually does on their ability to get pre-approved. So there's a lot of things. Same thing. They have those conversations at a friend's house, and Dick was mentioning. You have a conversation like that at a friend's house, around the water cooler at work or something, and you just kind of talk yourself out of going through the process. So it is important to actually see what the real numbers look like, and what does your personal situation, how does that impact your pre-approval and your ability to actually buy a home if you're wanting to do that. And right now, I know we've said it, but with prices declining, this is probably one of the better opportunities in the last couple of years to actually buy a home at a price that you're expecting. People have been waiting for the market to dip, and it's dipped. So,
I think, again, kind of looping back to that misconception that, people also, there's somebody else saying, supply will increase when we weed out the investors. Well, right now, investors still buy whether rates are up or down, true investors, but you have the individual mom and pop investors that will buy their one rental property or their second rental property when rates are low. Absolutely. And we saw that over the past couple of years. That's jumping on an opportunity and being in a position to buy. Regardless of the time, there's always going to be investors, and we need investors because we need rental supply out there because the government isn't supplying these. So I know this person made a comment of supply increasing when we weed out investors, but we can't weed out investors because otherwise there's not enough rental properties on the market and rents go up. And we're starting to see that right now that the rental market is increasing in certain markets. There's high competition again in places like Toronto and Ottawa. Ottawa, I've been reading a lot that it hasn't fully picked up yet, but as we're getting closer to the university season, that it's going to pick up significantly again, because obviously classes are going to be back in person for the first time in 2 years, and all of those international students will be welcome back, all of those nationally, and so they'll be coming back to Ottawa, and those rental properties will be picking up again. And so really for those type of rentals, those are investors. It's not the government supplying those. So that's not going to diminish, and we're not going to go anywhere unless the government starts building millions of properties. So, it's not just as simple as one thing that's going to, solve any of this, but really to that point, buyers are sitting on the sideline. We've been talking about it. Greg's even talked about now, but his buyers, they're kind of debating what to do with their properties. They're sitting there waiting. And even if you read the comments and on the YouTube videos, people are sitting waiting, and they're waiting a couple months, a few months. These people will never time the market properly. Nobody can time the market perfectly. But really it's a marathon and not a sprint. You have to look at it as a 25-year mortgage. You're signing a 25-year amortization or 30-year. Look at it that length. So don't look at it like Paul, you just said it, of this 1 month. Look at it for that 5 years, for that 25. Are we, and someone that has really kind of negative on the home market in the comments the past several weeks. Are we bullish in the auto market? Yes, but it's a long-term bullish. Short term, yes, we are saying that prices are going to, that even Greg was just saying that list to sale price is going to come down. He thinks even 95%. But in the long term, we're highly bullish on the Ottawa market and Canadian real estate as a whole because of the statistics that we've been mentioning. And that's looking at historic numbers and the statistics of what the government's bringing to the country, where our income is at, where our supply is at, and where the demand is at. And I think you need to look at it at that long-term horizon and not just the short term.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, David.
Well, great additional commentary, Paul.
I mean, you said it so eloquently. I don't think there's much to add there.
I do have a couple things to add. It blows my mind. Dave, you nailed it, saying that, think of the long term. People panic thinking like, they're paying 5% for a mortgage. They're only paying that for like a short term or whatever. And they think like, that's the end of it. The rates are going to go up. They're going to go down. What happened in the last couple of years historically was madness. It was basically free money. Now that we're back to responsible spending, people are panicking. Like they forgot what it's like to have a regular interest rate. People were jumping over everything, just like, 2% below, I'll pay $1 million. And then when they can get something at 800,000 and pay 5%, it's like, holy, I'm not doing that. That doesn't make sense to me. It's like, dude, it's like, where are you living? Like people need to think the long term. And again, with the whole thing with summer, I mean, think about this. The comments of that comment on YouTube talking about like, it's not true. It has nothing to do with summer or whatever. I got four buyers now who said they're waiting till fall. And I begged them. I said, just keep watching the market, because if you wait till fall, chances are if there's 4 of you that I'm working with, there's probably 4 that all these other realtors are working with that are going to think the same thing. And as soon as they all get back to the table, come that second week of September, what's going to happen? You might be back into a bidding war. Who knows? Like we don't know, but I'm just saying, like all things are aligning to look like that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyways, I think I'm loving this new market. It's a good transition. It's a great correction. There's some people have to take a little bit of a step back and maybe not get what they were expecting and move on. But I think in the end, everybody's going to win. Like you were saying, Dave. Like it's Ottawa. We're stable. We're not going anywhere. It's a great opportunity for a lot of people to get in right now.
Yeah, and I think the biggest is really, like you said, and I said, it's looking at the long term. Don't look at just the interest rate today. If you're worried your interest rate being high right now and you believe we are going to hit a recession and rates going to come back down, take short-term money. You're taking it, take a 2-year, a 3-year term, or a variable, and so that you can lock in when the bond rates come back down and the fixed rates associated with it do as well. And keep in mind that it's, you're getting into it not just for 2 years or even 5 years. This is a place you're wanting to live in, or a place that you're wanting to start off with right now and move to another place in 5, 10 years, 7 years. Not just this, don't look at it just this for
it's a
this few
plan.
months.
It's a plan. Have a plan, everyone. Have a plan. Have a plan.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, Paul, should we, now that you got the mood boost up, should we jump into them?
Boost our mood.
I got 5 today, and they're all pretty damn good. So we should we'll turn a corner here. Are the girls listening, Greg?
The girls, one of them is Savannah. Actually, one of them is pretending to be asleep. Anna's been listening. She's driving for the first time on the island. Great. Yeah, they're all listening. Girls, wake up. Here's the joke. Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Number 1. I booked a hotel room for my vacation, but I'm not sure about it. I have reservations. That was for Greg. That was for the Campbells. Number 2, what are bald sea captains most worried about? Capsizes.
Wow.
Capsizes. Number 3, the Big Bang always gets me nostalgic. It's a real blast from the past. Number 4, what kind of music do balloons hate? Pop music. Pop music.
Savvy like that one.
And last but not least, what kind of shoes do frogs wear? Open-toed.
Those are really good. Really good.
Excellent. Well, thank you. This felt like a show from 2017 with the technical issues and the cutoffs,
Choppiness.
and the choppiness. But Steve will chop it all up. It'll be magic when it comes out.
We
Yeah,
apologize, people.
Even
We
just shaking his head in the dark.
Yeah, we apologize.
Blame it all on Greg. I'm glad I could jump in today. At least that was great.
Yeah, likewise. And you're not back for another couple weeks, correct? To the big city.
I don't know. I should be on next week though. I think we may be back in Ottawa at the cottage for next week. So.
Okay. Well, drive safely. And thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, shout out to North Brew Coffee. If you go to northbrew.ca, use the promo code podcast, they're going to give you 20% off of your coffee order. Shout out to Referral Mortgages, all of our agents, our great operations team. Shout outs to the agency. And shout outs to Stephen Hopkins, our awesome producer. And we'll be back next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, review, and we'll be back. Thanks for listening. See you later.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.